Workshops inspiring connection, restore, renew, and reconnecting community. Live well, laugh often, love much. Join our online connection circles. Be empowered in our virtual live events. Be a guest on our podcast shows. Hire us or be hired for speaking engagements. Enhance hope, health, and healing in your lives. Creating global connections. The Connection Show, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. The Connection Show, creating hope, health, and healing in 2021, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops and live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me from Chicago, Illinois is my good friend Hillary Gooden. Welcome to the show, Hillary.
Well, hello, Jill, and thank you for having me. I'm so honored.
Well, I am honored as well, Hillary, and I would be so honored to share a little bit with the audience, a little bit about you. So, Hillary Gooden is an author, a public speaker, an empowerment coach, a certified lymphology expert, and a pastor. Hillary attended the International Academy of Lymphology. She empowers people, especially busy women leaders, with strategies to reduce stress, anxiety, and inflammation. She uses tools and techniques to activate and maintain a healthy lymphatic system and to transform their health and peace the way God intended, which is easy, natural, and drugless. As a result, her clients experienced increased energy, clarity of mind, better sleep, better health, a boost in their immunities, and vitality. Hillary became an ordained pastor in 1999, and in 2015 she founded Hillary Gooden LLC. Hillary believes you got the power to help your body help you live a more vibrant life. Hillary is the podcast host of the Vibrant Good Health and Let Us Get Acquainted Facebook shows. She also co-hosts News You Can Use with Lotus Richey on another Facebook page. So what an amazing journey, and welcome.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I've been excited and waiting for this.
Good. And we both chose to wear purple today, so I
I
guess I
know.
guess we're launching Easter, right? Getting ready for our Easter
Oh
with our
yeah. Oh
purple.
yes. It's that time.
Yes. Well, Hillary, on the Connection Show, one of the things that's a little different on this show than others is I really believe in life that God has given us the blessing of story. And in our lives, through story, it really does help when we share that. It helps others. And so we believe at the Connection Show the importance of taking a story and connecting the dots back in our lives so we can see how that story has manifested. So, if you're willing, could you take us on a journey back into little Hillary growing up and what your childhood was like in your environment, and then take us on that journey that led you through your career path to who you are today?
Oh, okay. Well, I was how can I say? I was always a quiet child. And I have a brother, so it's myself and my brother. I'm 3 years older than him, and it was pretty much a family dynamic. My mom and dad until I was about 11, and I believe that's about the time that they became divorced. And so the journey, was really strong with my mother, my brother, and myself. And so, we had a good life. My mom, she worked. She, was that single mom, tried to take us to church, even though she wasn't really uh, a member anywhere at first. But there was a time where she was seeking, and we go to different churches trying to find our way. We didn't understand it sometimes, but that's something that I remember. Going to a different church every Sunday because she was seeking someplace that my brother and I would be able to go to. So I was pretty quiet. I made friends, and I had maybe a few friends because I was shy, and I didn't speak to in depth to a lot of people. I had a few friends who knew how talkative I was. And my brother, he definitely knew how talkative I was. He was like, oh, it just would burn his ears at times because I'll get all my talking out with him. And, so I was pretty good in school, but the shyness was a thing all the way through.
Where did you grow up? Where did you grow up, Hillary?
Oh, okay. I grew up in Chicago,
In the city of
in the
Chicago,
city yeah, I grew up in the city on the south side
on the
of
south
Chicago.
side. Okay.
Yeah,
What
and
schools did you go to?
okay, I went to my earliest remembrance. I went to a school called Sala Crown. At Sala Crown, there was a grammar school. What I remember the most about, it was two things I remember the most about that school. There was a bully.
Mm.
We probably, when you go out, we used to go out for recess. I don't know if they still have recess for kids today, but we would go out to the play yard for recess. And after recess, we could buy chocolate milk. I was just telling this story recently. You could buy chocolate, buy a little carton of milk
Mm-hmm.
and a cookie, the cookies that the lunchroom ladies made, butter cookies. And they were just famous for those. And so this bully, he targeted me, targeted other people, and he was going in our pockets and steal our milk money,
Aw.
our milk and cookie money.
And you were
And
looking forward to that, and it would be
every,
gone.
yes, and just stand there and let him just go in my pockets and take my money, like
Mm.
everybody else did. Was scared of him, and I said, you know what? I'm tired of him taking my money, and I didn't want to tell my mother because I didn't want her to come up to the school or anything like that. So one day I decided, I'm gonna take my money and I'm gonna put it in my shoe.
Good
And
for you.
sure enough, when he came on the thing and went through my pockets, I didn't have any money. But when it was, and we were in the same class. So when it was time, when they brought the card around to our class, I took my little money out because I had went to the little girls' room and took my money out. And I was able to, pay for man. And he was looking at me. And, and for some reason, he never bothered me anymore after that.
Wow. So you
But
you found the power.
I found I had the power, right?
Yep, yep.
I remember that specifically, And then there was the teacher that I had. She was a Caucasian lady, and she was real petite and prissy. And I was tall. I was the tallest one in my class. And she would tell me, the boys are gonna grow, probably be taller than you someday. But for right now, I want you to stand up tall and don't, be slouched over. And that's where I started learning, to be that I was about my worth and my value and my esteem. Because
Mm.
she was always would not get it on me, but she always encouraged me. She was so loving
Well,
because I always
that's
had
good. So she
I
really
always
cared about you and your self-esteem and helped you to sit up straight and be proud of yourself.
and walk, just walk tall and everything. I would be at the water fountain. And I remember one time at the water fountain, she came over. She said, "Let me show you something." She said, "Walk with your hands behind your back, and that make me stand up tall." I never will forget her. I don't remember her name, but she was, that was helping me and starting me to feel proud about who I am, no matter that I might be taller than everybody else. So I started to develop before all the other little girls did, and
Yeah.
all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's
You
a
know,
good story. That's
yeah,
really nice. And
yeah.
what
And
grade
so
were you at that time about? Do you remember?
that was fourth grade.
Fourth
That
grade.
was fourth
So
grade.
that was very influential for you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the next school that I remember was Augill. It was called Augill, and we had moved by that time. That was the first school was like on the west side of the city, and then we moved to the south side. And I was going to this school, and I remember the my sixth grade teacher, that was very influential again in my confidence and my self esteem. And I guess they could see that I was shy and quiet, but they, just really encouraged me. And what was so particular about this teacher, um, we would okay, I was in eighth grade by this time. I had her in sixth and eighth grade. At
Mm-hmm.
eighth grade, we had a chance to decide which high school we wanted to go to. And the high school in my area where most people would just go there because it was the school in their area. There was a school called Lindblom Tech, and you had to take an exam to go to that school. And people from all over the city, that school encompassed children, young people from all over the city. And so the principal came around and said they're going to be taking, uh, those that want to go can take this exam, sign up to go take this exam on a Saturday. And she passed the list around, and I just passed it on. And then she came over to me and she stood right at my desk and looked right in my eyes. And she said, Hillary, why didn't you put your name on the list? I noticed your name isn't there. And I was like, you have to take a test. It was like, ooh.
Like
You
you
have to
didn't have
take
the
a,
confidence you could pass it.
you got to take a test to get in that school. And she said, you can take that test. You can pass that test. And by the time she got through, I don't remember. That's the only thing I remember her starting off, but she kept going. By the time she got through, I was like, where's that list? We put my name on this list. And it was a young guy that sat next to me. His name was General Van Owens the Third. I'll never forget him either. And he was the one with the pins in his pocket and the glasses with the tape on it and all that kind of stuff. He
Mm.
said, I don't know why you're going to take the exam. He said, because you're not going to pass it. He said, I'll pass it, but you're not going to go. That made me really want to go as well.
I
I
hope
was
you
like,
passed it and he didn't.
and that is what happened when the principal
Really?
came around. Yes, when the principal came around, and he had the list for our class who passed. General Van Owens the third name was not on there.
But yours
And when he
was?
called my name, he was going like,
Now,
"How you
now
passed that?"
that is, I'm getting the goosebumps. That is a story of hope.
Yes,
That is a story of hope. I love that story.
yes. And
Wow.
then
And you almost passed up on that opportunity.
where would my life have taken me? It would just been something totally different.
Wow.
Because when I went to the school in Bloom, and we have what do you call them, monthly brunches. They're virtual now, every month for my class, because we would have class reunions every 5 years, and because of everything that's happened, being virtual, we're getting more people that can actually partake in it because they're not just here in the city for the ones that were local, right? And so, I mean, we still meet up this class.
Wow,
We were
that's
like 12,
great.
we were like 1,200. My class was 1,200 when we started, and a little over 600 of us passed because there was a lot of gentrification, I guess you would call it, where the neighborhood changed. A lot of people moved away, you know. But on my first day at Lindblom, in my first class, they called out the names, and it was this girl named Vicki Granger, because our names were close: Hillary Gooden, Vicki Granger. Then the second class, Hillary Gooden, Vicki Granger. The third class, Hillary Gooden, Vicki Granger. Each class on lunch, the period that we had lunch, I saw her out and about. That girl. And then in the next class after lunch, Hillary Gooden, Vicki Granger. And the eighth class, Hillary Gooden, and it was somebody else. I was looking, where's Vicki Granger? I took social studies, and she took, it was another option. She took whatever that other option was. And so we didn't have that class together. But the final class we had, it was Hillary Gooden and Vicki Granger. She became my best friend.
Mm.
You know,
And
I just
is
talked
she
to
still around?
Well, you know what? We took different journeys as far as our what we believe in,
Mm-hmm.
and so that took us apart. It broke my heart. She
Aw,
became a Jehovah Witness, and
aw,
if you know anything, they pretty much stick to each other, and if you're not one of them, they don't. They just
yeah,
kind of drop you like a hot potato. Not
yeah.
just friends, but family as well. So that kind of broke us apart. But I talked to her because of the Zoom meetings with the school, the alumni. She was on a couple of months, well, about a month ago, and then we had a call afterwards, and we talked for a long time
Well,
on
maybe you can
Zoom.
get her to
So
come to
that was really good.
Branson. You never know. You
You
never
never
know.
know. You never
You
know. But
never
she lives
know.
in Washington now, and
Uh-huh.
with her family. but it was really good catching up. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So where did you end up then after high school? So after high school, what took place then in your life?
after high school, I went to Chicago State University.
Mhm.
All of the people that I was friends with, they went out of state somewhere. They went away to school, and I was like, I have to stay close because my mother got a shop. She had a boutique, and it was just my mother, myself, and my brother that we helped run the boutique. And I felt like I needed to stay because she needs me. It wasn't that she said I had to stay, but this was my thinking. And so I went to Chicago State University, and some of those people that I went to high school with went there, and so again, we still kind of will meet up, and so that's good. But I don't have any. The one thing about that I remember about Chicago State, I was going to be a computer programmer because it was the thing to do. Computer programming was becoming really big and a lot of money, and you could find a job easy. So I'm going to be a computer programmer, like my friends was going to be computer programmers. And the thing was, my computer programming class, when I started it, when I got to that place where I was in these classes, every Tuesday and every Thursday before class, I start feeling this numbness headache. By the time class started and I was sitting in my seat, I had this pounding migraine. When class would be over, it started subsiding.
Mhm.
And on Thursday, the same thing. And I started noticing, you know what? Maybe this computer programming is not for me because it is giving me a serious headache. So I ended up changing my major to accounting. And so I became an accountant.
So did you like working with numbers?
I I I liked working with numbers more than I liked trying to learn how to code. I just
Yeah.
couldn't. I couldn't. It was too much for me, and then
Yeah.
it wasn't what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because as it turns out, I went from there. I worked at IRS. Um, Actually, I took a break and I worked. I felt like I had been going to school, going to school, going to school. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just take a break. I got a job working at Marshall Field,
Mm.
downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
And while I was working there, I ended up in like accounts receivable, and they had the famous building there, Marshall Field. And when you would go downstairs in the basement, they had the bargain basement. But below there was another basement. That was where our cafeteria was, and they had some other offices and stuff. Then below there was another basement, and that's where we worked in this down, down, down in this little space that was like a little cubby hole. And even below there was another space where they had gun rage.
Wow.
So
So it was
uh,
the catacombs of Marshall Field on State Street.
yes, and then I worked with these two ladies. They were Caucasian ladies and they were older. They had been with Marshall Field since they were young ladies. They had been there a long time. And they were nice to me, though. They were very nice and taught me, it was accounts payable because we was always dealing with invoices and everything. They were
Hmm.
very nice. But then at some point they changed and they took us upstairs. So then when you go upstairs, you would go above the shopping. That's where you would go like to pay your bill and go to the restroom or stuff like that. Then up above there was another office, just was wide open spaces with rows and rows of desks. And you just heard it. Oh,
All of
so
the all of the secretaries they called him back then worked there, huh?
yeah, but they brought accounts payable, accounts receivable, everything was up there
All
then.
there.
And so I met a whole another group of people that I never had even seen before because I worked deep
So
down in the
did
basement.
you work your way up to a position on that level?
No, I was there for 1 year. I
Okay.
worked accounts receivable was up there, and at that point, after about a year, I was like, you know what, Hillary, you need to go back to school because you don't want to be doing this for the.
So where did you go to school next?
Well, I went back to Chicago State so I could finish.
Okay.
And I got my degree. And I remember the other thing I remember about Chicago State, that last year, because it's like after my junior year, I think I did this. Then I was like, let me go on back so I can finish school. And I remember having, they had a class. It was like for 1 credit. And you could take, I took this class, I took a music class because I needed a credit. I took a music class and I found I really liked it. And I was catching on. But I said, I'm not sticking around for this music class. So I never did really learn how to play the piano as much as I would have. And I said, man, if I had known this, I would have took music somewhere along the way, you
Yeah.
know,
Aw.
but I didn't do that. And
Yeah.
then the other thing was they had classes, like trainings for the seniors so that you could do interviews, mock interviews in front of cameras, and so you could see your body language and all that stuff. That's when I started feeling like, oh my God, how am I ever gonna get a job? I'm so shy and so scared to talk to people. It was excruciatingly
Mm.
painful,
Mm.
and the trainer, was always encouraging and everything, but I knew I was gonna be in trouble as far as interviewing was concerned. So that was just that was just something.
So where did you end up then after you finished that? What was your next
Okay, my
journey?
next thing was I ended up getting a job. They had an ad in the paper for IRS, Internal Revenue Service. They were uh, they were looking for what they call them revenue representatives, and they were taking people from like all kind of fields. They're like, we'll train you, it doesn't matter. So I ended up working for IRS as a revenue rep, and I got a chance to really get to know the city, even the surrounding suburbs. Whenever there was a special project, I was one to raise my hand. I'm ready to do it and to go. And it was about collecting unpaid people who hadn't paid their who had businesses who hadn't paid their employee taxes.
Mm-hmm.
We were collecting those that people who hadn't filed their tax returns
Mm-hmm.
or either had not paid their outstanding revenue
Yeah.
bill.
So
And so
how long were you with them?
I stayed there probably about 2 years or so.
Okay.
And
So then how did you then evolve then going back to school to do the lymphology?
oh, that's some ways down the road. Because what happened, they ended up saying, you know what, we're going to cut this program. And I didn't pursue it further with Internal Revenue Service. And I ended up interviewing, and I'm thinking that's when I got, it seemed like there's a gap here, but it wasn't. Okay, there was this, they said we're going to end this program with Internal Revenue Service, all these people, because some of the people they had degrees in forestry, all kind of, all kind of stuff. They have anything to do with what we were doing. I enjoyed doing it until um, right before they disbanded us, somebody got killed that had gone out to collect from this
Mm.
man who they were going to, what do they call it when they take their home? They levy. They was going to put a levy on his property, and they went out with revenue officers, and revenue officers are armed, so they went with the revenue rep, and the man had a shootout with them, and a couple of them got shot and everything. I was like, you know what, this job is not worth
Mm-mm.
the next level in here being a revenue officer. I'm gonna risk my life about it. But I had one day I can tell you about that was pretty interesting that made me start thinking about my next move. I went out this one particular day, and I was up on the Gold Coast. I was doing the Gold Coast at that time, and most of the people that I would come across, they lived in beautiful lofts, and in the buildings, you come up in the elevator right into their apartments and stuff like that. Beautiful places, and they always say, "Well, you need to talk to my lawyer." No, your lawyer don't owe the bill. You need to talk to your lawyer. You owe this bill.
Mm-hmm.
And this one day I went out, and this man, he when I came to his door, and I try to say as much as I can before I flash my badge, because usually a door will slam in your face once they see the badge. But I told him who I was, and he said, "Oh, come right on in. I've been waiting for you." And I was thinking, "Oh my God," because most people would think you are the IRS, and so you got all of their words about their what they don't like about it. So when I came inside the man's apartment, he had a dog, a big dog. Then he had a little dog. The little dog was just making all kind of noise at me. The big dog was sitting there like, if you move, I'm gonna bite you. And I'm not used to pets, so I was just like, oh my god. And the man was he was fussing and just talking loud. And I looked over my shoulder. There was a bird on a perch, a parrot with long, beautiful red, green, orange, beautiful bird. It flew to the. It was a long apartment. It flew to the back of the apartment, turned around, and flew back at me. And I was ducking and trying to talk to the man. And the two dogs were sitting there. The little one was chirping. The man was, and the bird was flying. Oh, when I got out of there, I don't even remember how it ended, but the man kind of calmed down, but he would not tell the bird to stop flying at me, or he wouldn't say nothing to them. When I finally got back in the car, the IRS car, I thought, you know what, life has got to get better than this. And when I came home, I turned in the car, I got on the train and went home. And when I walked inside my door, you walk up the stairs, and there's a big mirror in the hall. And when I got to the mirror and I looked, I had feathers, orange and red, in my hair. And I said, nobody said anything to me or whatever. And I guess they wondered, where's she? What's up with that lady? But that was an interesting job. I had to gain some confidence working that job.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And so,
transition then, and what did you end up doing then, and that led you towards this, what you're doing today?
okay, so I ended up going back to my mother's store, to Tina's shop, it was called Tina's Boutique. And she had a store where we mainly uh, dealt with large and tall women clothing. And so I was there and, managed the place and different stuff like that. And me and my brother and my mother, that was what I did. And then one day, my friend got, one of my friends, there were four of us that went to high school together. Two of me and Vicky were, of course, best friends. And then Karen and Karen were best friends, but we all were friends together. And so one of the Karens had gotten born again. And all the rest of the friends were talking. You heard what happened to Karen? Did you hear what happened to Karen? Did you hear what happened to Karen? I said, I heard what happened to Karen. And Karen came by. I was standing outside my mother's store, and she was coming by. She said, "Hi, Hillary, how you doing?" And she was just talking to me all nice and just as pleasant as possible. But I felt so undone. I felt so dirty and like I just wanted her to go away. I didn't understand what that all that was. It was just the convicting power of the Holy Ghost that was happening to me. And her light and my darkness, had collided. And so she could tell I was so uncomfortable. And she said, and I was telling her how I just wanted to kill myself. I just wanted to run out in front of one of the buses passing by and let it hit me. I said, but I probably wouldn't die. I probably end up maimed for life or something like that. And she said, Hillary, it's the devil making you feel that way. She said, you should come to my church sometime. And I was just like, oh, please leave me alone. And so she ended up, saying, I'm going to be praying for you. And I was just like, whatever. And she left. And then my cousin and I were really close. And she called me. She said, let's go out to party, And I was like, now that sounds like something I want to do. And we went out. I remember being out, having, dancing and meeting guys or whatever. And I remember sitting there looking at all the people dancing. And this was a kind of an older set because they were doing what it wasn't the younger people party. And I said, you know what? I can leave this party, this club, and come back 10 years later. I bet I see the same people, the same people doing the same thing. I don't want to be one of these people. It's got to be more to life. Again, I'm like, it's got to be more to my life than this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that next day, I had met a guy. We were going to go to the air show. And I said, okay, that'll be really great. He was really nice. When he called me the next day about going to the air show, between the time that I met him and the time he called, something happened in me where I was just mad at all men. All men were no good. And I was through and done with all of them. And when he called, I let all of that mess out on him and slammed the phone down. Don't call me no more. And I wish I could have. He never called me again. But I wish I could after I became a Christian, because this was leading me into where I became a Christian. And so that's what happened that
So
that day.
do you feel that that anger that was um, boiling inside of you was related to your father, your dad, and
I
the
don't know.
divorce and stuff? Not seeing your dad, were you?
It could have been.
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way, but it just like came out of
That's why the
nowhere.
connection show is called Connecting the Dots, because
Okay.
it's good to connect the dots to
Yeah.
find out where that originated from. So
Yeah.
so take us a little bit with time and everything to that was all happening to you, and this anger was boiling, and so then what developed inside of your soul?
So I ended up the next day, later that day, my mother and I had an encounter. We weren't speaking to each other. It was like thickness in the room, that thick cloud. She went to bed. I went to bed. 3 o'clock in the morning, I had a encounter with the Spirit of the Lord, and I ended up on my knees out of the bed, on my knees, praising God, trying to praise God, trying to know what it is He wanted. And in the midst of that, the fire fell. I I just was sweating. I mean, literally wiping sweat because it was so heated. And I was speaking in tongues to the top of my voice. And, he had come in and saved my soul, and I was glad about it. And that next day, I ended up getting a call from where a place that I had gone that Friday before. That Monday morning, I got a call and asking me if I was interested in a job that for an interview, because they had gotten my resume, and that's the job that I ended up being on, the behavioral health center on the west side of Chicago, and I spent 33 years working there. And
Wow.
so I rose from being a line staff to being a manager to being the CFO, and I
Wow.
retired in 2019. But between 2012 is when I started. I used to have a chronic. I still have a chronic cough, but it's not, the encounters of it is not nearly as much as it used to be, because and I found that it wasn't just the food that I ate; it was connected to anxiety. When I would get anxious, this cough would trigger that fight or flight, just like from out of nowhere, and I would start coughing, and I was always trying to find what can I do about this cough with something that's natural, because my doctor said, well, you need to take this inhaler, you need to go take these pills, and you just have to be on this for the rest of your life. That didn't sit well with me, because I don't like taking pills for one thing. And I was like, I don't know. It's got to be something. That's the search that led me to lymphology in 2012. I believe that's when I first encountered about about the lymphatic system and all of the great benefits of it. And I fell right in line with it and took the classes for the certification to become a lymphologist. And there are not that many lymphologists in the United States, and let alone there are not many that are of color, that are doing it. And so that, along with what I know about people, just rising up in that agency, dealing with people on all different levels as a line staff, and then dealing with different people as a manager, and then as a CFO, and dealing with so many different people, and then as a pastor, you know, um, because I was ordained a pastor, I believe it was in '99. I believe it was '99.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, it's a lot. I'll put all that together. The other part, because my scripture that is the one that's connected to what I do is, beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper, be in good health. And I say vibrant good health, even as your soul prospers. And so
Mhm.
I had the soul prosper stuff. I learned, I've seen a lot, and then as far as the other life relationships and being in leadership and all of that was on the first part. And then the lymphology brought it all together. And that's when I started thinking, man, I got to get out of this job. I got to, but I knew it would be in God's timing. So in 2019, um, 2019, in October 2019, I started getting this feeling of I was so excited because when I first got saved, that was something I said almost every day. I'm so excited. I'm just so excited. And
I'm
I would talk
so
to any,
excited.
I
I
know
just
I would
can't
talk
hide
to,
it.
yes, and I couldn't hide it. I would talk to anybody and let them know, Jesus love you on the bus, on the train. It did not
So
matter.
this shy little girl really came out and shined for Jesus.
From the when I got born again, that after all of the speaking in tongues and that encounter, I became a new creature, literally. My grandmother asked me one day, I was just talking to her, just talking, talk, 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 talk. She was looking at me so odd. She said, "What ail you, child?" She never heard me talk like that before.
Yeah. So now you have a book out that you wrote,
I
Hillary,
sure do.
and
And
it's
I happen to have it right here.
You got
And
the
it's
power.
called
You got the
You Got the
power.
Power. And it's
Wow.
7 ways to transform your health and peace.
Wow. Well,
Yes.
with that in mind, Hillary, God gave me the vision this year that I and those I meet, like yourself, need to really start to create hope, health, and healing in the world because it's so needed. And so I'm one of those, Hillary, I love to look up words in the dictionary. And the word hope in the dictionary says it's to cherish a desire with anticipation, to want something to happen or be true, like hoping for a promotion, hoping for the best. But in the Bible, hope has a definition. It says hope is commonly used to mean a wish. This is in the world. Its strength is in the strength of the person's desire. But in the Bible, hope is the confident expectation of what God has promised, and its strength is in His faithfulness. What does hope represent for you right now in 2021? How do you look at hope for yourself or the world?
Hope is that thing, like it says, it's that thing that has not happened yet. There's always more, there's always greater. There's always a way. And I tell people there's a way that's already made just for you, just for what God has called you to do. And if you haven't come into the fullness of it yet, you just continue step by step. And I've been talking about hope. Look, like in the last couple of times that I've talked to someone, like in a podcast or in an interview setting, I've been saying, keep hope alive. It reminded me of Jesse Jackson. He was saying, keep hope alive, because that's the thing that's going to carry your faith, going to carry you through those times when you don't see it happening.
Yeah,
You
just
have to
like
keep
just
hope
like it says
alive.
here, it's that confident expectation
Yes,
of what God's promised. It's
yes.
hoping in Him, that hope in Him. So, the other word which you're definitely exhibiting with your business is the word health. And in the dictionary, it says health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Um, but in the Bible, biblical health is defined as 7 areas of the abundant life that Christ refers to in John 10:10. And you need to take care of them all to experience true biblical health, which are spiritual, physical, emotional, mental, financial, occupational, and social. Each area of your life is connected, connecting the dots to all the others. What does health mean to you?
Health means to me, like in my book, 7 ways to transform your health and peace. I start out talking about your mindset, the words you speak, the thoughts you allow your mind to entertain, how your ability to love and to forgive, how you deal with stress. But all of this before I get into the lymphatic system and the bouncing on the mini trampoline, because that's the number one way to work it, and the nutrition and eating right, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. You have to deal with those things that I mentioned first, because I have found, your words are connected to your health. they can greatly affect uh, for the better or for the detriment. We have to be mindful of the words that we speak on a daily basis, because power, what does it say? Death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Well, I find that
So,
interesting that your book has the 7 steps, and the scripture says that there's 7 areas of the abundant life. So that's kind of a connection there too,
yeah,
isn't that? That's kind of when you said that,
absolutely.
I read that there's 7 areas of abundant life, and then your book has the 7 arenas too. So that's kind of interesting
Mhm.
to see how those connect together to spiritual, physical,
Yeah,
mental, emotional, financial, occupational, and social. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Because the one statement you read in my bio, and I absolutely believe you got the power to help your body help you
Hmm.
live a more vibrant life. You have more vibrant health, you're going to have more vibrant life.
Well, especially when
And it's out of,
especially if we've accepted Jesus into our lives, because the Spirit of God
mm-hmm,
residing in us will give us that power. This power of the Holy Spirit living in us will bring us
mm-hmm,
to that resolution, like you said. I think when people have not yet accepted Jesus in their heart, the power is the power of themselves. But when you've invited Jesus, you've got the power of the Spirit living in you with your own power. So it's just so much more dynamic in my
mm-hmm.
opinion. So the last one,
Yeah, but
go ahead. Go ahead. What were you going to
I was
say?
just thinking, as a pastor, because I believe in prayer. Prayer works. I've seen miracles. I've seen God do things instantaneously in people's lives to deliver them from what ailed them. And but the things that I began to realize, what are you going to do on the other side? How are you going to keep that healing? How are you going to not end up back in that same situation again? And that's when I began to just, you know that there's other things that you're responsible for.
For yeah, the last one is healing, and healing is to be made free from injury or disease, to make sound, or like healing a wound. In the Bible, though, the Bible says, "Heal me, Lord, and I will be healed. Save me, and I will be saved. For you are the one I praise." And the people all tried to touch him because power was coming from him and healing them all. "I will restore you to health and heal your wounds," declares the Lord. What does healing represent for you in your life?
He is the healer. He
Hmm.
is the deliverer, and certainly nobody has the power to heal anybody. And we once you can recognize that it is him, and he can do it. In some cases it happens as a process. In some cases it can happen right away, just like that, and just um, astound everybody. You say, I can astound you with great astonishment, you know? And
Hmm.
so, yes, he is absolutely the healer. Even when people are in situations and they're, going back and forth to the doctor, they're under their doctor's care. I don't have anything against doctors, but even with doctors, it's only so much that they're going to do. But
Hmm.
we have to recognize that Jesus is the healer.
The healer. Absolutely. So, in closing, I'd like to ask you, what's one fun fact about you?
Hmm.
A fun fact.
Uh, what's a fun fact?
Or something
Well,
really fun that you've ever done in your life that's really something fun or fun fact.
okay, let's see. Now, this is a hard question. I could talk about everything else all day. And what's a fun fact about me? I don't know what is a fun fact about me.
You like
I like
what?
hot peppers. I like hot
Hot.
and spicy
You like that hot
stuff.
and spicy
That's
food,
just,
huh?
I do.
You're
I
a
spicy
hot and
food.
spicy
I
girl,
said,
huh?
Lord, just I hear people say, "Oh, as I get older, I can't eat spicy food." I pray, Lord, let me always be able to eat spicy food. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
That's great. Well, Hillary, it's been a privilege to have you. I want to show the audience your bio now so that you know how to reach out to Hillary and connect with her. And yeah, so there we'll have that. And just like for just a moment more, I think this is so important because we didn't really have a chance to go into it. I'd love for you, I'll talk about me for just a second. I learned about the lymphatic system after I've had, oh my goodness, I was in a major car accident, Hillary, so I had to have two new knees put in, a new hip put in. I had to have a colon resection, and I had to have a full hysterectomy and a gallbladder surgery. So with all those surgeries, I think when I got to having the gallbladder surgery here in Branson, finally someone said to me, and I can't remember how it occurred even, that said, you know, you really need to go see a specialist that does a diagnosis to see if you have lymphedema or lipodema. So I went to a rehabilitation center here in Branson, and they diagnosed me and said I had secondary lymphedema and secondary and primary lipodema. So they began working on my lymphatic system for about 6 months, where I needed to get the lymphatic garments, the compression socks, the
Mm-hmm.
compression capris, and then I have the lymphatic pump as well for that pumps my legs. Um, and so, could you explain? I mean, it was so mind-boggling to me that a lot, and I'm going to say a lot, of your professional doctors and surgeons know nothing about the lymphatic system and the importance of having a lymphatic massage by a specialist and have lymphatic treatment before surgery and after to keep that lymphatic system going. So, could you address that just a short while with the audience?
The doctors are not taught it in medical school, so that they're just taught the basic that is there. They don't really know what it does. And I have been seeing reports, researchers that they're allowing research papers and that they're putting out there and certain things that they're finding out now. And I'm like, well, I learned that back in 2012 when I came into lymphology, but they're starting to make the connection, but they're definitely were not taught. That's why they didn't address it. And so and that's to the detriment, of people going through some sufferings that maybe they wouldn't have had to go through they had they received that type of teaching when they were in schools. And so two of the main things that I promote through what I do with the lymphatic system is the number one way to activate and maintain a healthy lymphatic system is bouncing on a mini trampoline. You'll find the people that are in cancer treatments, that are in going the holistic route with their cancer treatments or whatever kind of treatments that they're dealing with. But I've heard a lot of people dealing with cancer have gone. I hear them say, "Well, I bounce on my mini trampoline,"
Mm-hmm.
and I know they're bouncing to activate their lymphatic system
Yeah.
because the lymphatic system is like the garbage disposal
Of
system of the body,
yeah.
and it works with all the other systems in order to remove toxins and cellular waste from being trapped around the cells.
And
And
the other one that you told me is to get one of these.
yeah, so
These
that's a
they're called core discs, and you stand on them and you can bounce on them as well.
mm-hmm,
You can
mm-hmm.
bounce on these as well. The core disc, they sell them on Amazon for like $15, but they're called core discs. This one is made by
Okay,
Therogear, and you just can bounce on this, right? Right?
okay,
And that helps you
yeah,
as well.
yeah, and they can use those bigger balls, the exercise ball. They can bounce on
The
those.
Pilates
Yeah,
balls.
like the Pilates balls. They
Uh-huh.
can bounce on those um, to activate because the way the lymphatic system works, right quick, is that there's lymph fluid that travels through the vessels, and it helps to activate the vessels to work as a suction or like a vacuum to vacuum from around the cells, especially where there's stagnation of trapped cellular waste or fluid and blood proteins from the blood system that can get trapped. And that's okay that they can get trapped. The way that God has so magnificently worked our body, made our bodies, is that if that happens, the lymphatic system on the other side of those cells is there to when it's activated and working properly. If those get trapped, if they get stuck, then the lymphatic system is there to vacuum it out and keep it going where it needs to go, so there's no stagnation. When there's that stagnation, you have pain, you have loss of energy, you have inflammation. And if it stays too long, you're going to have chronic conditions. All type of uh, autoimmune conditions are because of inflammation, because of
So,
this
so
very
let me
thing.
ask you this, and then I know we have to do a hard close, but um, are you actually trained then in lymphatic drainage in massage, or are you trained in knowing about it? So, do you actually do treatments yourself?
I don't do massage treatments for that. No.
Okay.
Mainly what I do is we're teaching people about the bounce on the mini trampoline
Okay.
for it, and deep breathing is the number two way. And I was
So,
getting ready to say about the
okay.
lymphatic system right quick, is that the lymphatic fluid, like the blood, it goes away from the heart and travels back to the heart. The lymphatic fluid flows in one direction, and that's up. The lymphatic system, unlike the blood, does not have a heart. Like the heart pumps the blood, there's no pump for the lymphatic fluid. You are the pump.
Mm,
Movement is key. We have to move our bodies. That's one reason for moving our bodies, is to keep our lymphatic system healthy.
wow.
Walking, is good. Bouncing on the mini trampoline is perfect because at the bottom of the bounce, there's that not that level of gravity like when you if you were to do jumping jacks and you get that hard stop, right? On the bouncing, there's that level of G force
Okay.
because you go right back up. At the bottom of the bounce, those vessels, the check valves along the vessels open and allows the fluid to rush up.
So, do you have any?
So
So, let me
movement is
ask, do you
key.
have classes or anything, or do you mainly just have your book where they can read that and then you and they can
No,
they can go on your Facebook page, I mean your Facebook things, but do you do any kind of classes that you teach or anything like that?
that's what I have a 5 day thing that's coming up in April.
Okay.
I did them a couple last year, just where we meet on Zoom, and then I would go through a little teaching, and then after each session we bounce. And
Okay,
it's called
good.
it's called what we call it lymphosizing, because it's
Okay.
with the purpose of activating the lymphatic system. It's
Okay.
not for cardio. It's not a cardio workout.
So, on Hillary's Facebook page, she'll be posting about this upcoming class that would be really
Yeah.
helpful. And I'll just say, and I'd like to connect the two of you, Hillary. Dr. Sylvia Washington is located in Aurora, Illinois, and she's got the highest credentials
Okay.
in lymphatic drainage. I mean, and there's a lot of, like at some of these massage places out there, some massage therapists say that they do lymphatic drainage. Make sure they're a certified lymphedema massage therapist and not that they just took a one class on the lymphatic system, because the certified therapists trained in lymphedema and lipodema have a specific way of working that lymphatic system. And then there's the dry brushing is another thing, utilizing a dry
Yeah.
brush. And there's
Yeah.
videos that you can go online and look up dry brushing and then the motion of how to use that dry brush every day to move that lymphatic system. So I think this is a great topic, and Braveheart Workshops has just made a decision, it felt led by God this week, just in the last 48 hours, to do a live in person event in Branson, Missouri on the week of August 17th through the 23rd with speakers that will be speaking on creating hope, health, and healing. And Hillary's just agreed to be one of those speakers. So I think what we'll do, Hillary, is when we get the website going and stuff, we'll definitely do a quick interview with you. But um, I'm supposed to be getting a an SUV this week that'll have enough room. So we'll see about seeing if we can get my mini trampoline in the SUV and take it to the conference, so we could have mini jump sessions during break time
Yeah.
that you could be standing there
Uh,
showing them, because we'll have a table for Hillary. So that might be a fun thing, Hillary, where if we can get the
okay.
trampoline there, we'll do some mini jumping sessions in between breaks to keep people's lymphatic system going during the
Yeah.
conference. So
It's
it's
amazing.
it's been wonderful. Thank you for joining us, Hillary. You're an amazing woman of God, and I'm so blessed to get to know you.
Thank you so much for having me, and I was glad to be able to share my story.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining the Connection Show. Have a wonderful day. Bye now. Thanks for joining us on the Connection Show. Let's connect now. Let's restore, renew, and reconnect in community. Enhance connection in our online connection circles. A place to meet up, gather, and feel welcomed. To join us, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Click on the Books Podcast tab, and then the Connection Circles drop down. On the pop-up, join our Connection Circles Facebook group. Our circles meet from 8 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Share story, topics, and laughter with men and women. To learn more about Connection Circles, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Thanks for joining us on the Connection Show, and have a great day.